some PDP members yesterday in Rivers State. The attempts to malign the APC Rivers, Mr. President, and the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Narratives that Bola Ahmed Tinubu was frail and unhealthy, that he was mentally senile, that he defecates on self and so wears diapers, that he was extremely old and incapable of presiding over Nigeria. In fact, they played God by promoting that Asiwaju was on the departure lounge and will pass on in a bit. These protesters raised the issue of the political crisis in Rivers State and made attempts to link the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory to the fray. What a puny logic they espoused. It is so shameful that those champions of the slogan, their slogan then at the point was, and I quote, serving son after father. That's when Siminalayi Fubara emerged in the PDP governorship primary, as now the same people who are errand boys of the son they despised. Political crisis in Rivers State is self-inflicted, and I reiterate, both the governor of Rivers State and the 32 assembly members were of the same political party and family, with His Excellency Ezewon Nyesom Wike as the father. Why is it the case that 27 assembly members opted for the opposition party, the APC in Rivers State? Does anyone think strongly that as full-blown adults, anyone can lead them by the nose? Or does anyone think that anyone can sit pretty on their noses? What of the remaining three members still in PDP and with Governor Fubara? Are they also robots? The crisis is about crass inactivity and cluelessness and rudderlessness of the governor and the penchant of the legislators to whip the governor to line, latching on the principles of separation of powers and checks and balances. Rivers State is more than drifting, unfortunately, to a pariah state, to atrophying into abysmal oblivion, to say the least, of the FCT, serving under our beloved APC-led government, who had long left the rostrum of power in Rivers State Government House. I'm aware that despite our entreaties to the Honorable Minister of the Federal Capital Territory to join us in APC with his winning magic wand, he still believes in PDP. If the minister is PDP and the governor is PDP, is it not apt to say that the bedeviling problems in Rivers State are intra-party? If the protesters feel concerned, shouldn't it be honorable for them to look inwards to seek solutions to the problems than constituting themselves as snitches and fifth columnists and crisis merchants, and so justify their locker gas aspersions on the Abuja transformer and reformer, and very dependable ally in the achieving of the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President? Why do they want to further insult Mr. President and APC by telling him that he, as leader of APC, appointed a kleptocrat into his cabinet as minister? When have they repented and withdrawn their suits in court, challenging the powers of Mr. President to mediate in the political crisis in Rivers State? Have they repented from emboldening Governor Fubara to disrespect Mr. President by refusing to implement all the indices as contained in the 8-point presidential proclamation as panacea to the political crisis in Rivers State, which, by their actions, they have continued to fuel? If they have respect for Mr. President, as they mouth. Why would they publicly condemn and refer to as illegal a proper assembly made up of 27 members out of 30? And I noted here that Rivers State has 32 assembly seats. We lost one to death. One of the members died. And one who was on the other side, on the side of Siminalayi, purportedly resigned. I say purportedly because I'm told that he does not have the power to do so. It is the speaker that will communicate to INEC to declare his seat vacant. But physically, he wrote a letter indicating that he had resigned, and in fact, the governor compensated him with the office of the chief of staff. So he's the governor's chief of staff now. So I was saying that we have 30 House of Assembly members sitting and meeting, and that 27 of them all of them were members of the PDP, but 27 of them, feeling very uncomfortable with the developments in PDP, decided to port to the APC. And in Mr. President's attempt to resolving the problems of Rivers State, he raised 8 issues. One of the issues, and as prominent as it was the issue of the 27 assembly members. Because I hope people remember that the governor had run to present budget to 3 members out of 31. No, 4. They were 4 then. The chief of staff had not resigned. He ran to present a budget to them over and above 27 members. And you and I know the law, that a quorum must be formed before an assembly can sit. And the quorum for every assembly to sit is 1/10 of the number of, 1/3 rather, of the members of the assembly. And in that meeting, the president recognized the Martin Amewule-led House of Assembly and instructed the governor that he should go and present his 2024 budgets to the assembly. And I also would like to note, and I want Nigerians to also understand and note, thankfully, a lot of them, well, 1 or 2 of them who served on that press conference yesterday, were also part of the meeting, where the president warned that whoever, any of the groups that will refuse to implement to the last word the indices as contained in the presidential proclamation document will face consequences. The president said so clearly. He didn't mince words. And he didn't say it behind the curtains. He said it to the hearing of all of us. Now, we're asking, why are they calling out and trolling Mr. President, the leader of our party, in such a derogatory manner? Why are they threatening the fragile peace in Rivers State? What counsels have they given against the profligacies of the PDP-led government in Rivers State? Are they not ringleaders of the weekly rip-off of Governor Siminalayi Fubara and Rivers State coffers through ostentatious jamborees conducted in the 23 LGAs of Rivers State, dubbed Thanksgiving for Supreme Court victory of Governor Fubara? Isn't that absurd? And we're asking this question: what was Governor Fubara's case before the Supreme Court that was so fearful, so dreadful, and obvious that he would have lost, that the Supreme Court saved? Assuming without considering that there was, could his be worse than others who appeared before the Supreme Court? How many state governors took to such weekly charade in their states, even in the prevalence of economic downturn? Was it not our heated advocacy that necessitated the holding of Rivers State Executive Council meeting just last Tuesday, after it was held on the 10th of December 2023? Yet, the governor continued to rule the state by whims and caprices of a dictator, autocrat, and a totalitarian. Have they been able to speak against the export of nudity? Rivers women were shown half nude to the world by this group. Maybe I should continue reading. Have they been able to speak against the export of nudity of some vulnerable, hunger-stricken, and helpless old Rivers women funded by the government of Rivers State through a pro-Governor Fubara's group called Rivers Women Unite for SIM, all in the bid to showcase what the governor referred to as organic support? If the midnight pseudo-lovers of Mr. President today, as shown in their test under critique, if they are now convinced that Mr. President is abundantly fit and proper to preside over Nigeria, and that his 10 months in office has provided renewed hope for an El Dorado for Nigerians, and choose to recant their hitherto unsavory and unprintable toxics against Mr. President, they should follow the proper channels allowed for potting or decamping to any political party. This approach of browbeating and blackmailing they intend to use is not fashionable at all. No sane host tolerates a guest who attempts to enter his or her house through the window when the doors are wide open. Finally, they should know that a tribe document as that signed by two persons without office and or any authority whatsoever and howsoever, except as they couched it, former leaders of Atiku Abubakar 2023 campaign directors in Rivers State, can never, 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 ever qualify as position of Rivers State people. We vehemently reject it. This press statement is signed by me, Chief Tony Decamp-Okocha. He was decapitated in Rivers State because there was this Amechi's-led influence. Because when he didn't make it at the primaries, he refused to play along the party. So his adherents remained with him. There was also a group that was part of what we were doing even immediately after the primaries. And that group was headed by Magnus Ngeyabe, senator. I belonged there, that group. But it beats our imagination that even after the president, our candidate, the presidential candidate then, Bola Tinubu, had emerged as candidate of the party, distinguished Senator Magnus Ngeyabe began to see from a different lens. Of course, he wanted to be governor. There was a penchant for him to be governor. And so he decided to abandon the party completely. Went to the went to the SDP, where he became candidate of the party. So APC in Rivers State became almost like an orphan. What saved the party then was the fact that I refused blatantly. I said, I won't. I wasn't going to leave the vision that we had of having Tinubu as a candidate of the party and going ahead to support him to win the election. And so I became John the Baptist. I became a sole voice in the wilderness. Luckily, we had our own cream of supporters who came under what we call 48 amalgamated support groups. So I had to hem everybody together. And that's how we started pushing up. At that point, we started begging Wike. When we saw that the crisis in their party was getting intractable, that they were not likely to resolve. So we started then to beg the then governor of Rivers State to please come over to Macedonia and help us. That we have sustained in subsequent press briefings and releases. But as we speak, I'm not aware because If he had changed camp, if he had joined the APC, I should know because I'm the chairman. And he's a well-grounded politician that knows that joining a political party is not from the top. You start from your ward, your unit, in fact. So I'm not aware that he had acceded to those requests that were made. So he is still flesh and blood a member of the PDP. Why he serves in the Tinubu's government, the APC government, is also not an aberration. The president felt he could build a government of national unity and also compensate some persons who have done one or two things in his favor. Don't also forget that the track records of Wike as governor of Rivers State is intimidating. And if you're a president, you will not want to miss out from those qualities that he exhibited. And I'm sure you will know the difference is clear in Abuja with Yeson Wike as the sheriff in town in terms of development. I think the hinterlands of Abuja and all of those are beginning to see something new that I haven't seen before. That is the Wike himself. I'm sure you also recall that even as governor, the vice president then of APC, who was APC, came to Rivers State and monikered him the sobriquet of Mr. Project. He came the second one again and monikered him again Mr. Quality Project. Buhari, just at the twilight of his government, also conferred on Wike, president himself, conferred on him infrastructure development governor of the year. So if you were in the president's shoes and you are told of a man like that, knowing too well that the president is a talent hunter, and again, that the man had also contributed immensely in your victory, would you not bring him on board? The answer is that you bring him on board. Okay, now, you are talking about people decamping. No. For how many months that this matter had lingered? Not even one assembly member had defected. Not even the overtures that the governor and his team men are extending to them. They are refusing. The reason they refuse is because they are convinced in their conscience that the man is not doing the right thing. I just told you here that whilst the governors of Lagos, Borno, Niger, and name them, are busy thinking out of the box to see how they can better the lots of their states and their citizens. My own governor is in the business of funding ostentatious Thanksgiving every week. Each of those Thanksgiving services gobs 150 million. Of what relevance, please? It's a question we have asked. What's the relevance of a Thanksgiving? Other than that, he said, oh, he was trying to show up support. He was breaking up he was breaking off from the shackles of his former leader that he calls Oga. He wants to be independent of him. Nobody's bothered with him not being independent. He's a full-blown man. But the issue we're saying is that you don't use state funds to fund that kind of charade. See what is happening in Niger. When they show such things on television, I feel like fainting. See a governor who has vision and mission for his people, buying and lining up tractors, acquiring hectares and acres of land for agriculture. When you do that, you are taking a certain number of persons away from unemployment because human beings will drive those tractors. Where you're going to farm, you are going to have farm hands. So you have taken people away in thousands. What you only hear as defense in our state is that, oh, the governor is promoting workers. Oh, the government is paying. From which source? Is it not the source that comes from the center? If they didn't have so much money, if you don't have money, will you employ anybody? How can you pay the person? But because the money they have is so humongous, I was chief of staff to Amechi. I think I've made that introduction here before. 2012 to 2015. I was a member of State Executive Council. An active one for that matter. Of course, you know the role of a chief of staff. Yeah, so now you There are things you don't tell me, because I was an integral part of the system, a de facto governor for that matter. Okay? So that the governor has nothing to show as we speak. Is it not madness? At the point when the country was nosediving, thank God for the kind of president we have. So when they say he pays salaries and I say, wow, that is, I mean, every primary school person who you put there as governor will pay salaries, if you have the money. In our time, we didn't have money. The highest money we received between 2013 and 2015 was 6.8 billion. I haven't forgotten. The governors are cutting away, like this last month. Rivers State government went home with 28.4 billion from the center. And we have minimum, the Rivers State government generates a minimum of 12 billion internally generated every month. How does this translate to action in the state? He has no project apart from this one I'm here for yesterday. And the reason why he already did it was because the assembly had passed a bill reducing the percentage, okay, for mobilization that they give to contractors and suppliers. And so before that bill will run for 30 days, because he's not likely to sign. He hasn't signed to any bills. He will write to the assembly, I've seen it, but I will not sign. And the assembly will override him. That is the law. The constitution is clear. Section 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And empowers the assembly to override the president, or the governor. Where I work today in NDDC, NDDC was established by Act of Parliament in the year 2000. The president refused to assent to it. Are we forgotten? But today, is NDDC commission, is the commission not a functional parastatal of federal government? So, if you said, I'm telling you that the assembly members are intact, 27 of them, the student will say no shaking, they are intact. And it's worse for him that they have all decamped to APC. And we are holding them so important and sacrosanct, and I'm leaving them under my legs. So if they were fluid before, under me, they won't be fluid anymore. So we watch every activity of everybody. Now that an assembly House of Reps member who come from my own area, my own ethnic nation, Ikwere, he represents Ikwere and Emoha, jumped ship and declared support for the governor. It's not a big deal, it happens. It's not a big deal, it happens. Decamping, cross-carpeting, potting from party A to party B is okay. But he does not have, okay. Now, what is the difficulty if they know that they have this strength? What is the difficulty in conducting local government election? That we have all been shouting. He's already in default of the law. The local government law says 90 days to the expiration of the incumbent, that the SIEC will publish a notice by way of timetable to tell the parties to start preparing. And that within the 90 days, 21 days to the expiration, there will be election. He is out of time, deliberately. And it's in the 8, in Mr. President's proclamation, the President said, conduct election. I don't want to hear any nomenclature in the leadership of local governments. What I want to hear is that you have elected local government chairmen and councillors. This group of men that you're talking about here, who I have told you that they feast fast, they are feasting fast, is the principal mission handed over to us by the national chairman, sitting in concert with members of the National Working Committee. Of course, exercising the power ceded to them by the National Executive Committee of the party. And we are doing quite a lot. Quite a lot. Our party secretariat is a beehive of activities every day. People throng in and out to identify with what we are doing. And it's gathering momentum heavily every other day. It leaps and it bounds. Now, we are also stopped at some point, because part of what the chairman also said to us is that we should go and replicate the caretaker arrangement at the state level to cascade down to the wards. You are aware, you are in this party. And you know that the party is at the verge of carrying out what they call e-registration exercise. I was part of a delegation, well, the chairman had visited with Mr. President some days back, and that was very expertly canvassed, and Mr. President bought into it. I'm sure you know that before long, the party will swing into action. Now, that has inhibited our achieving, that part. The reason is that you don't go and make somebody a member of a caretaker who, at the end of the day, is not a party member. I don't know if I'm clear. Yes. You don't do that. So after the e-registration, we'll get down to the other details. In fact, even maybe the party may design a program that will say that will call for congresses. So if it is about being on ground, and then you also said that we are trying to stop people. No, please, that is not the way to reason on this matter. We are saying that the doors of the party are wide open. Come through the door, don't come through the window. In your house, if you have a guest that attempts to come to your house through the window, you declare him a witch, or a wizard, or an armed robber. Right? Okay, I'm asking you to. It means that they have sinister motive why they want to enter the door through the window, and not under our own watch. Besides, if you have the text of their presentation, there was no page, no paragraph, no line did they suggest that they were leaving PDP to come and support Mr. President. They were only playing to the gallery, playing with words. And if you can read in between the lines, you just feel that they are cajoling the party, cajoling Mr. President. When they say that Mr. President appointed Wike, I'm sure all of us know what a kleptocrat is. Somebody who uses his power to steal money. So is that the kind of administration Mr. President wants? So it's an insult to Mr. President, an insult to us members of APC, because he represents our slot. I don't know if I've answered you. We are willing, very willing. Our doors are open for genuine. And I've just told you, is it because these people seem to have names? I say, on election day, would they vote more than once? I'm telling you that we have a myriad of people surging into the party every day in River State. If you want me to show you videos, I will. So these ones have sinister intention. And look at what they said. They said that Wike is the brain behind the problem in River State. How? I am in River State. I'm from River State. I live there. I'm only doing this because I'm in Abuja, and this thing happened. So I just felt I should address it. Else I would have been doing this in Port Harcourt. I live in Port Harcourt. I do business there. I work there. So, are they saying, in other words, that he should not come back to River State again? He should just remain here in Abuja because he's Minister of Federal Capital Territory. All right. Now, my friend asked that analysts believing that Mr. President's 8-point proclamation was implementable. I don't know. Let me take it this way. The president did not invite himself to the political imbroglio in River State. He didn't invite himself. he was inundated with calls from well-meaning Rivers people, even outside Rivers State. The likes of this man from Delta State, this elderly man, Edwin Clark, begged Mr. President to wade in. The state was sitting on the keg of gunpowder at the point. And Mr. President, in his busy schedules, still had the presence of mind, donated time to invite the protagonist and the antagonist to the presidential villa. I was there. I'm sure if you saw that paper, you'll see my name, Tinubu. I signed the proclamation document, about 7 of us. Now, the president, it was not a riot act. Just to make this point clear, it was not a riot act. The president took his time first. I'm sure you won't like this. He said no press men in that hall, that it was going to be a family matter. No security person. So it was even the president who, when he finished, said he was going to take the paper himself and give to the press corps to publish. So nobody was under any intimidation. Nobody was under duress. The president took his time and told the governor. Because when a governor dismantles the legislative complex, you have touched on the fabric of democracy. I mean, do we start to repeat the enunciations of Baron de Montesquieu when you talked about separation of powers? We shouldn't. We are not kids here. So when you touched by demolishing the assembly, the president told him that you assaulted democracy. But Mr. Governor, you know how the president, you assaulted democracy. I'm president. I have the cane, I have the carrot, but I will not whip the cane. And he took his time, advised us and counseled us, and allowed everybody else who wanted to speak. The governor spoke. Our leader, Odili, 6 out of 8. Why are the other 2 difficult? What are the 2? Go and conduct local government election. And if you are governor, you are almost there for 1 year, and every day you think you are carrying crowd, you should just test the waters and find out that those crowds you are carrying are rented. When a man is hungry and you say, hey, enter the bus, we are going for somewhere, I will give you 5,000, they will push each other to enter the bus. That's the kind of crowd he has. He doesn't have the people. I'm Rivers.